Hello guys, welcome to a new video and welcome to my first review on Mr. Robot. I started watching it literally a day ago, so you can guess that I binge watched season 1. And yeah, I'm gonna be obvious about it. The reason I started watching is because of Rami Malek, because I really like this performance in Bohemian Rhapsody, and I've seen the guy all over the place, always on Tumblr and all those sorts of different sites, but I never really watched any of his stuff, and I always heard that Mr. Robot is supposed to be really, really good. So yeah, I finally got into watching it, and I'd like to give you my thoughts on it since season 4, right, is coming out later this year, so I want to catch up with everything until that season comes out. So here's my first review on season 1 of Mr. Robot. Okay, so I'm gonna go all out, spoilers, everything, because, you know, season 1 has been out for a couple of years now, so I'm not really gonna hold back in that regard. I loved it. This show is really good, and I'm saying this as someone who usually is not really into stories about computers and hacking and IT and all that stuff. I was really bad at computer classes back in school, so yeah, not my favorite topic, but this show manages to make this kind of topic so interesting and, most important of all, understandable for someone like me who does not really do any IT stuff or whatever. So yeah, I like how they are approaching the topic, and I like how realistic it seems with the hacking. Like I've read up a bit on that, and it said that the way the show is portraying hacking and hacker culture and how all this technical stuff works seems quite accurate in the show, and it also seemed very accurate to me while I was watching it. It's not like I would know, but you know, it looked different from what you usually see on telly or in other movies. So I really enjoyed watching this visually, how this whole computer stuff works out. I like that it gets explained to you, but also not too much, where the story doesn't have to grind to a halt and sit you down and explain to you, okay, this is what this thing is. I like that the show doesn't do that, but still gives you enough information so you understand what the characters are doing. The story so far I like, though I think there's still a lot of potential there. I'm tempted to say that it's more of a character-driven show where it's all about, especially like the main characters, but also main character, but also the others surrounding our main character, Elliot. But so far, I'm enjoying the story. There are a lot of different types of storylines that are kind of evolving as the episodes go on. I like that there are a lot of different levels and a lot of different themes, and you're not quite sure from the very beginning how everything like is connected to each other. So I like that you don't always have an idea of what exactly is going on. So I like to be kept a bit like in a mystery. So I like to figure that stuff out. And the story has some really good twists and turns, especially like the last couple of episodes from episode 8, I think, on. I was just like, this show is messing with me, but I love every second of it. So it definitely keeps you on the edge of your seat. You kind of want to know what happens to Elliot, or what's happening around and what's happening with the companies. It manages very well to keep up your interest, even if, like me, you're not really into the topic. But what I think is the centerpiece of the story are definitely the characters, and above all, the main character, Elliot. So I have to talk about Elliot because Elliot is probably the most relatable person, the most relatable character I have ever seen in a show or in a movie. Because all of that shit he deals with, like social anxiety, depression, anger issues, like I started watching the show, and after 50 minutes in, I was like, this guy is so much like me. And I like how realistic this is, how realistically they're portraying all those mental issues he has. like especially the social anxiety part, that like he's not just an introvert who maybe doesn't really like talking to people. Like, no, this guy really has social anxiety, and as someone who also has it, I'm appreciating this so much. I find there to be so many moments and scenes and conversations where I'm thinking, this is exactly what happens to me all the time, or this is exactly how I would react in this situation. Like, Elliot is so relatable in that regard, and I really do appreciate the show for showing such a realistic portrayal of what social anxiety, what disassociation and depression can be like. So I like that you have, like, outwards dialogue Elliot directly speaks is mostly at a minimum. Like, he doesn't talk a lot, which makes sense regarding the social anxiety. But I like that he keeps talking to the audience as someone, as like a character he's made up. So he has someone he can talk to, which is also super relatable, because that's something I also occasionally do, because I think it helps people think. So I like how they use that in order to tell us how he understands certain situations, how he sees certain people, so that while he doesn't talk a lot, we still get a lot of what is actually going on with him, which I think is very important if you have a character such as Elliot. A detail I also liked a lot was how they treat disassociation, which is basically a sort of coping mechanism that people with anxiety use, often also unwillingly or unknowingly, in order to like get through difficult moments. Like that's an easy an explanation as I can give you right now, but I like how they use that when Elliot just completely like blank. It's like completely blank and blocks out entire conversations and entire discussions that are happening around him, because he's either so occupied with something else at the moment, or he is so upset about what's going on around him that he just completely disconnects from what is happening. There's an especially nice moment towards the end of the season, I think it's in the last episode, when he's surrounded by all those people in a big crowd in the middle of the city, and he's like, I need silence. I need to get out. I need those people to go away, because he's like so out of it at this point, and then it just cuts and everyone around him is gone. Everyone around him is gone. It's empty for him. For him, it's completely silent while he has a whole conversation with himself and imaginary people, and stuff like that keeps happening throughout the show, where he just has those moments where you're like, when you have dealt with something like this, you're like, this is something I would do too. Or you have those moments where you think, oh, I know what this feels like. If you're someone who also has anxiety, depression, whatever, you watch Elliot and you feel understood, or there's a lot of relatable stuff there, which is something I have never seen like this. I'm gonna be completely honest. Elliot is a very, very well written character, and he's a very unusual protagonist, or maybe hero, so to speak, because he's not a classic hero, but he's also not like an anti-hero or something. He isn't really that. He's like a very, I don't want to say normal, because he's not normal, but I still find him to be a very relatable character, even if you don't deal with stuff like that he has. I still think he's a very likable character, a character you really want to follow, and you want to know what's happening to him, and you care about what happens to him. And with all those fucked up revelations that are coming out as season 1 goes on, there is so much stuff there to unpack. And even if you don't really, even if you're not like really into the theme of the show, the whole computer stuff, or maybe if the story sometimes is not the most thrilling one, you still kind of want to follow it. You want to watch it because of Elliot, and because Rami Malek is playing him so brilliantly. Like, he's such a good actor that he manages to understand how people who have those problems in real life would act, would think, would feel, would express themselves, and he portrays this so well. So I just have to say that Elliot is a very, very compelling character, and definitely the main reason why I will continue this show and why anyone should watch it. Speaking of characters, because the other characters are interesting as well, so far I would say the most interesting one is probably Darlene, because I want to know what this whole relationship really was, because as it turns out, like I said, I'm gonna talk about spoilers here. As it turns out, she's actually his sister, and I'm like, what the hell? What the hell? So I'm curious as to finding out what her deal is, and the deal with Mr. Robo, with the father, how this all comes together. Like, this is probably the most interesting storyline so far, apart from all the mental bullshit that Elliot has to go through. But like, in general, the characters are very interesting, and what I like about the show, it's so diverse, and it doesn't make a big deal out of it. But if you one of those people who looks for shows that have a big a cast consisting of a huge diversity, definitely watch this. I mean, the main guy is played by an actor with Egyptian heritage, so there goes that. But you have queer characters, you have Muslim characters, you have people of color. So there are so many different kinds of people represented in this show, and the show doesn't make a big deal out of it. It never feels like, oh, here, in your face, this is this cool minority character, look at this person. The show isn't like that, and I do appreciate it, and it doesn't keep its focus on the fact that those people are different. Like, no, those characters just happen to be gay. This character happens to be a Muslim. It's just so nice to see a show that has such a huge diversity, and also a main character that has mental health problems, because I don't have a lot of shows that tackle those issues seriously. So I do really enjoy and appreciate what the show is doing with its characters and all the different portrayals we have of so many different themes and topics. So yeah, I definitely enjoyed season 1 of Mr. Robot. There's so much to unpack that I binge watched it in a day, and I love the twists and turns. The show really like fucks with your head. You just have to say that. But I do enjoy that. I especially also enjoy how meta the show can be at times, since Elliot talks to the viewer as an imaginary person, and there's sometimes this overlay where it becomes really meta, and I love shows and movies that have like this meta level of narrating going on. The show manages very well to keep you interested, especially in its main character. I'm so excited to find out what's going to happen with Elliot and also with the other characters, and so far I can say that I'm really, really enjoying this show, and I'm just thrilled to find out what happens next. So those are my thoughts on Mr. Robot Season 1. Have you watched the show? Have you watched the show when it originally aired? Do tell me in the comments below what your thoughts are. No spoilers, obviously. I've only started watching Season 2 a couple of hours ago. So keep looking out for more reviews. As you can probably imagine, I'm gonna post updates as soon as I've finished the other seasons of Mr. Robot. Yeah, tell me if you're looking forward to Season 4 as well. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you have done that already. I hope you enjoyed this little review, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.